All right, we are now joined by not one, but two very special guests. Brian is here, but we're also joined by his former teammate with the Padres, current Miami Marlins pitcher. It is Ryan Weathers. This is so cool. I'm glad we got a chance to get all three of us on here together. Ryan, first off, how are you, and how are you enjoying spring training so far?
Doing good. So far, so good. Got 3 outings under the belt. So yeah, just keep building and hope to break with the team.
No doubt. All right, so this is cool. It's a little like 21 Padres reunion here. Brian, we'll kick it to you. When you think about 21 with the Padres and spending some time with Ryan between El Paso and San Diego, like what stands out?
Those were good times, man. I miss those times. I know Ryan's still doing it. Ryan's young and has his whole career ahead of him. But man, those were great times. Not as much fun in El Paso. I'll say that. I think Ryan will agree with that too. But man, San Diego is just such a cool place, and Ryan. I don't think the Padres that year probably gave him the best opportunity or put him in the best maybe situation to do as well as he should have. But you fight through it, and he's always been a competitor, and he'll be fine for a whole lot of years after this.
That's so cool. Ryan, this is hard to go back and forth. Ryan and Brian. Ryan, when you look back to 21, like when was the first time you and Brian got together and met? Was it in spring training? Did you guys hit it off? Like what was it like being teammates with BOG?
Yeah, so we met in spring. Obviously, he was a position player and I'm a pitcher, so obviously we get all the good stuff. We get to lead the field early and all that good stuff. But while he was grinding, all that good stuff. But no, he came to the Padres and in the big leagues, and all of us just kind of I don't know what it is, but kind of pitchers stick with outfielders, and it's just weird. Like it's just a weird dynamic with how like we just connect with everybody. And then when I got sent down, he was down there, and yeah, we just hung out down there. Him and his wife and my wife, they hung out, and yeah, it was just good hanging out, and we're just trying to get through the trenches together, and had some fun doing it.
What was the grind like in El Paso? Like Brian, you said it wasn't the best of times. Like what is AAA like down there?
Oh man, that year was just a whole lot going on in El Paso for various different reasons that had nothing to do with like me or Ryan. So it was just strange stuff happening, but man, El Paso, as you can imagine, gets ridiculously hot. So there was that going on, and then like the travel in that league, it was actually better because I think we were going. What they do now is like you play for 5 or 6 days in one spot, and then you're off, and you can travel because that league used to be brutal travel, like 5 a.m. flights playing that night. Like it was just I didn't have to do it, thankfully, but I've heard horror stories about it. But man, it's just I lived in a hotel that entire year, so that got old. Right across the street from the stadium, so I really didn't.
The good old courtyard.
Yeah, the courtyard. Didn't have too much other scenery there, but that's part of it, and still had some fun. There were some good dudes there.
No doubt. So this is all right. So I definitely wanted to ask about this, and we were actually talking to Brian about this right as you hopped on, Ryan. It's Skip Schumaker, your manager now with Miami, the former Padres bench coach. I was a fan of his when he was a player. I always just thought he was a gamer. Ryan, playing for him now, in both stops now, like what makes Skip so good at his job in your opinion?
Man, Skip's awesome, dude. Every player, even with the Padres, every player here, man, you're just like every time you have a team meeting, man, you're just ready to run through a brick wall for him, dude. And it's like he gets the aspect of like he was a player that was very successful at this level and understands the grind and understands just the stress that pitchers are under, the stress that position players, catchers, he just understands the stress of all aspects of the game. the way he balances the clubhouse and, just has fun with it. It's like he's a teammate and he's a guy, but like he's also a really good manager because you respect him and everything that he says goes. And, just the structure that he has, it is unmatched. And I've been fortunate to play for some good managers, but I absolutely love playing for Skip. Just everything he tells you, you can take it to heart and have a real conversation with him. And, man, he's just a great guy just to start off with. But man, it's a lot of fun playing for him.
Reigning NL Manager of the Year, Skip Schumaker. Brian, back in San Diego, like, could you tell by the way he carried himself back then, like when he gets his opportunity to manage a club, he's going to kill it?
Without a doubt. I mean, Ting was the manager in San Diego when we were there, and or at least when I was there. I don't remember if Ryan was there later, but I like Ting a lot. He's a good dude, and Skip just kind of always had that feel like it was just a matter of time until he was the manager somewhere. Everyone really knew it. He always had dudes' backs. I'll never forget when he got thrown out in Miami. Actually, the guy behind the plate was terrible, and finally, I think it was Tatis was the last straw, but like Kim was freaking out. It was nonstop, and Skip ran out there and got tossed. So that was pretty funny. And I think that was his first career ejection ever. Like playing days, never got ejected, nothing. That was the first one. So that was cool just to see him step up. But I mean, he's in great shape. Like he looks like he could still play. He's just all around like. He's just a great dude. I mean, we would like two quick stories about him would be when I would take ground balls a lot of time at first base, it would just be me and maybe one or two other guys maybe out there because, like Manny, Toddy, they're playing so much. Sometimes they don't take ground balls every day like I would when I was up there because, I had to. And Skip would be my first baseman, I'd be flipping the balls to him, whatever. And dude, without fail, probably 98% of the times he would get me within the first couple acting like he wasn't looking with his sunglasses on. And I would like freak, I'd go to throw it or flip it to him and I'd like freak out and he would just crack up and dude, all the time. And I knew it was coming. He'd still get me. And so that's one. And two, dude, he was always the guy who would tell me that they wanted to talk to me when I was getting sent down. So, and I went up and down like 6-7 times that year. So literally after like the first 2 times, dude, he would just be like coming up. I'd be like afraid to say hi to him walking around, depending on the day. And he would just like come up to me and be like, "I'm so sorry." He just like, I knew it was coming. It was just always like, I'd be in the weight room working out and he'd come up to me and be like, "I'm sorry, man." I was like, all right, here we go. Just follow him to wherever the office was. So like, that's Skip. But I told you before we started recording too, like he was a good pinch hitter, and I was like, dude, how can I be better at pinch hitting? Like, I know it's hard. Great. That doesn't, that don't help me. I can't just sit here and be like, well, it's hard. I can't do it. How can I get better? And we talked a lot about things like that. So I got nothing but good stuff to say about Skip. He's phenomenal.
That sense of humor rocks, by the way. Is that kind of like the case in Miami? Like, what are the clubhouse vibes like down there with a Skip run locker room?
Well, right now we got a big ping pong tournament going on. We had the round of 64, we got the round of 32 coming up. But no, he just does a great job of just like, I don't know. He just knows how to mesh a locker room together. And, every year the turnover is different on every team. Every team has different guys, and just the ability he has to create like the atmosphere of, big league guys meshing together and, big league guys meshing with AAA guys, meshing with, our prospects, meshing with young guys. It's just like it's a fun atmosphere. And, when we get there early in the mornings, he's already finished with his workout. Like he is you trust everything he says. The work ethic is unmatched, and the dude's just awesome, man.
Were there any other Padres connections when you got to the Marlins?
When I got here, guys I play with in the minor leagues, like I play with Austin Allen, CJ Hinojosa, Xavier. Me and Xavier got drafted together. So I knew him pretty well. I feel like I'm just forgetting a couple. I don't know why. But yeah, it was a very easy transition, and I've absolutely loved every minute being here.
That's the best, man. That's awesome.
For sure.
I had a question because Brian playing behind Ryan. Ryan, I don't know if you know this or not, but you're in the top 20 and fastest working pitchers, like in terms of like time to the plate, which is awesome. Like that's like I'll start with Brian because that's as a position player. How awesome is it when the game doesn't take that long when Ryan's pitching?
There's nothing better as a position player than the pitcher working fast and throwing strikes. There just isn't, because it keeps you locked in. You know something's about to happen. So it's just much easier on you as a defender. Doesn't mean that, guys who work a little bit slower or maybe spray a little more, it doesn't mean you don't like them, but it's certainly easier to stay focused and ready when you know stuff's moving fast and guys are throwing strikes.
Also, as a viewer on TV, that just rocks, by the way. I want to say thank you for that. Ryan, is that a skill that, like, did you learn that over time, or have you always just been fast to the plate?
I think I've just always worked fast. I always get told, I've had every manager tell me, you pitch like you got somewhere to be tonight every time I pitch. And it's like, dude, I don't have any other speed. Like, that's all I know how to do. But no, I know like 2022 and early 23, like guys are probably like, you're working fast and you're spraying the ball everywhere and you're finding barrels. Like, we got to figure it out. But no, now it's like working fast, finally getting in the strike zone. So it makes things a lot easier when you're in the strike zone, a lot quicker.
That's the other thing I wanted to ask about was just like, where'd you learn that pickoff move? I think Ricky said you led the league in pickoffs maybe in 21 as a lefty.
I've always had a good move. When I was younger, Andy Pettit kind of showed my dad how to show me the move, and he always had a good move. So got blessed with one of the better guys to be able to show me a move. I've just always had it. I had it when I was 10 years old, and it's still, like, to this day, it's still one of the most fun things I get to do is pick a guy off. But no, it's just a fun aspect of the game that pitchers, like, all we get to do is throw strikes and, like, hopefully punch tickets. But, like, we don't usually get to pick guys off. So it's just like a fun aspect as a pitcher to be able to pick guys off.
Do you ever get to do that in practice? Brian, was it we had Hassel on here, and he said that, was it Joey Lucchese used to just rip him up?
Oh, I believe it. I'm sure, dude. Some guys just have it. Ryan's one of them. I remember I played with a Venezuelan guy in high A, and he legitimately picked our first baseman off. Like, if the ball was a foot more to the right, it would have hit him square in the face. He was already turned looking at home plate, like waiting for the ball to go, and it went right by his face. But I gotta roll. But one more thing, I was going to say a pickoff. The other thing, and Ryan will be happy I say this, is he could swing the bat too. So I'll leave you with that, because that's good too.
I love it, Brian. Thank you for giving us 10 minutes tonight. Now you got stuff to do, so definitely appreciate it.
I'll talk to you soon, dude.
Yes, sir.
Luck,
good seeing you, brother.
Good seeing you.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from two apparel sponsors of this podcast. The first is Zero Negative. They are a brand out to inspire and empower individuals to find a positive message in everything they do, every time. They promote positivity and mindfulness in all of their products. Check them out at zeronegative.com. And last but not least, Few Will Hunt. It's one of my favorite brands out there. It's a great American company out of Philadelphia, out to restore the dignity of hard work. It is by far my favorite shirt to work out in. Check them out online at fewwillhunt.com. Now back to the episode. Yeah, I was talking to Brian. I was like, we're having Ryan on. He's like, I got 10 minutes for him if you want me. I'm like, yeah, yes, I would love to have. That was the coolest thing ever. That's so cool. I did want to talk a little bit about, I want to take it way back, talking about some of that fantastic hitting that you were doing as Gatorade Player of the Year. Your high school stuff, do you ever just go back and think about, like, how awesome it was that time in high school when you were 10-0 with a .09 ERA and you were batting .430? You ever just cross your mind? You're like, damn, that was cool.
Yeah, it was like, man, I gotta get back to having fun baseball like that. It's like, no, and when I just randomly, I'll have like that graphic that got put up in the postseason. I'll randomly get that sent to me like every couple months. Um, no, honestly, when I see that stuff, like it makes me like want to go back to feeling that mindset and that like I don't want to say not care factor because I care a lot about what I do, but that like I'm gonna go out here and here's what you got, and so it just I don't know. It's fun going back and thinking about that, and trying to feel that competitiveness, feel that edge that I had, and but yeah, it's definitely fun.
I mean, batting 430 in high school is crazy. Did you ever think about like trying to go like either like a two-way player or did you ever think about trying to continue hitting, or was it always, or did you reach a certain point where you're like, I got to lock it in on pitching?
No, I knew when I got to about that 16, 17 years old and I was left-handed, I'm like, I know what my ticket is. I got to be able to throw the baseball over the plate. But no, I enjoy playing a position. I enjoyed hitting in the big leagues, but those guys, man, they throw way too hard and that ball moves so much. Like I'm happy I'm on the pitcher's mound and not in the box.
And did you play in the NL when they didn't have the universal DH? Did you swing the
So
bat?
I got 1 year of hitting. I got 2021, and then they had the universal in 22.
What was that like? I didn't check out your hitting stats, but how did you do?
Hey, good. Yeah, did good. It was just fun seeing some of the pitchers. Like some guys, like I remember I faced Max Scherzer, and it was like, holy cow, dude, I'm facing like Max Scherzer right now. And then you like obviously have to take a pitch and like realize like I'm hitting off Max Scherzer. I faced Sandy Alcantara. I faced Luis Castillo, Walker Buehler. I got to face some pretty fun pitchers to like get to see.
This is great producing by Ricky, by the way. He just texted me and said you hit a home run off of Braxton Garrett. So
I was gonna leave that. Brax is one of my boys. I was gonna leave it out. So, dude, me and him, it's like a running joke in the locker room here. The catching coordinator, Rod Barajas, every day he walks in, he's like, if me and Brax are in the same room, he's like, Brax, does Weathers have a homer? And every time Brax is like, Rod, I thought we had dropped this. Like, but no, it's he got me in the next inning. He got a base hit off of me. So he's actually I'm from Loretta, Tennessee, and he's from Florence, Alabama. So it was funny because we actually grew up 30 minutes from each other. And that's who I got my one show bomb off of. So it's kind of funny.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's what kind of pitch was it? Did he give you a fastball?
It was a fastball, and it was fastball. It was kind of on me. It was kind of a poor pitcher's etiquette. I kind of ambushed him. But I was in their first pitch hacking.
What's like the decorum when there's a pitcher in the box? Is it you're not supposed to throw him your off speed stuff? Because that's like too cruel. I always forget. It's been so many years.
It's kind of like one of those things. It's like, hey, like I give you an out, you give me an out. Like okay. We're gonna, but no, honestly, pitching. I'm happy I don't have to throw to pitchers anymore. Like people think it's like an auto out, but like some of those guys, it's like kind of nerve wracking. Like when the pitcher steps in the box. I remember I faced Bumgarner, and like his scouting report was like pitch him like a 4-hitter. And it's like you get to the pitcher and you're like, oh, it's a pitcher. And then it's like Madison Bumgarner, who has 15 homers on the show. And like, so honestly, that aspect, I'm happy when I have to face pitchers anymore because it was hard to throw strikes when the pitcher's in the box. It was the weird. I don't know if it was for everybody, but for me, it was so weird when the pitcher stepped in the box.
Yeah, because they walk up there and it's like, yeah, especially if you're not know how to face them. Because you're right, some of these guys can slap it a little bit. Was it like, what was the feeling if you gave up a hit to a pitcher? Was that kind of like,
It was like one of those things like you would throw to a pitcher and like you don't really have scouting reports unless it was like Bumgarner or somebody that could really hit. And it's like you don't know where their sweet spot is. You have no clue. Like if I'm going to throw the one pitch that they're thinking, and then you throw one right down the middle and they get a little base hit to right field, and you're like, oh my gosh.
You mentioned that you're from a small town in Tennessee. I'm wondering because I went and looked this up because I'm from a really small town too. Like my high school had 400 people in it. How did you get drafted so high out of a high school so small?
I had a really good junior season, and then I played in a really good travel ball circuit. I played for the Dooans Dodgers out of Memphis, and we always played in like the Music City Classic, where you had a lot of college scouts, and then I always played in the World Wooden Bat in Atlanta. So I had a really good travel ball circuit, and then I was blessed. In between before my senior year, I got to play for Team USA. And that really, I feel like when you got to that kind of like perfect game and all that, when you got to that level before your senior year, like that was when the pro scouts started kind of piling up. And then that kind of got me on the radar. And then my senior year, I had a really good year. And that's what I think people sometimes think that high school ball, doesn't really, get you to where you want to get to. But, I'm from a small town school, a single A school in Tennessee. And it's like, if you're good enough, they will find you, and it never fails. We have another kid from Blade Tidwell. It's in the Mets organization's Double A, one of their top pitching prospects, and he's from Loretta High School. It's like, if you're good enough, they will find you. And, it's awesome every day. I love being from a small town. It just gives you a little chip on your shoulder that, I don't know, it's just fun.
I love it too. When people ask me, because I live in DC now, but I'm from a really small town in Maryland where it was like, I don't know, a couple stoplights, a McDonald's, that was it. And now it's just like, it's cool to be in an area that's more populated now. But do you ever just find peace going back to your small part of Tennessee there?
Absolutely. Home will always be home. It don't matter where you're at. I love going back home every off season.
It's I brought up Hassel earlier because I'm a big Hassel fan. You guys, Padres organization together. He's from similar-ish area of Tennessee, I think. Like maybe
he went to Independence High School, which is like Franklin, Tennessee, like a little south of Nashville. But me and Hassel played together. We played on Team Tennessee. It was before my senior year, and it was before, I think, his sophomore year. I mean, he was 16 years old hitting 3-hole for us. Like, he was already nasty. So I played with him in 2017 summer on Team Tennessee in Oklahoma.
I'm a Nats fan, so like I love that guy. He's the best. Was there an area scout in that part of Tennessee from the Padres? Because I feel like 2 first-round picks from like an hour and a half away from each other. That can't be a coincidence.
So my area scout, Tyler Stubblefield, I still talk to Tyler. I still works for the Padres, but I love Tyler. He's, I don't know, me and him we got along really well together. But I remember when it was in 2020, when they were going through the draft process, they knew that when I was with the Padres, they knew that I had played with Hassel. I'd been around Hassel, hung out with Hassel, and it was questions daily. What do you think about this kid? What do you think about this kid? And I'm like, he's nasty. Like, he's going to be a really good player. Like, I mean, he's already a stud. And then obviously, he got traded for, one of the best players that could ever go down in history. And yeah, I saw he play. He was the Nationals came to us the other day and got to see him. He's doing great, and I'm excited for him, and he's in a really good spot.
No doubt. So you guys are both first-round guys. When we had him on the podcast, I was like, what was the first like big thing you bought with all that draft money you got? And he said, bags of chips at CVS, a fake gold chain, and a speaker. So I don't know if I guess that's pretty on brand. What?
Oh yeah,
I'm curious.
that's Robert Hassel.
Hassel in a nutshell. It's a starter pack. What did you get with your money from being a first-round draft pick?
I think I'd always wanted 2 gaming systems. I'd always wanted a PlayStation. I wanted an Xbox. So I already had the PlayStation. I had that was before the PS5. I had a PS4, and I was like, I've got to get an Xbox One. So I think my first thing I got was an Xbox One, and then that was about the only thing I bought for a long time. But no, I had an Xbox One.
That's pretty smart though. I mean, you see some of these guys maybe like in other sports get their draft money and they just go spend it on like jet skis or something. So,
that sounds pretty cool too.
I mean, yeah, now that I say it, jet skis would be pretty fun. So are you just more like low key? Do you spend a bunch of money on yourself as a big leaguer?
I would say I probably spend more money on my wife than I do myself. But no, I love having shoes. I'm kind of like a sneaky little collector. I got a lot of shoes at home that I just collect. No, other than that, it's usually either shoes, golf, or going out to eat. So that's about all I do.
What do you just have like the sickest gaming setup in your house right now?
I'm working on. I'm working on getting a PC right now. I just play on laptop, but I'm working on getting a PC and getting a custom PC. But no, that's what I want one day. I do want a custom gaming set one day.
Brian said that I think it was during 2020 with the Rays, they would just have like a Call of Duty like session with like half the team. I feel like. Have you found that to be the case that like players in the big leagues, like do you play COD or do you play anything like game wise with your teammates?
We actually, with the Marlins, we have a group chat, and it's called Zero Damage, and it's our Fortnite group chat. So we'll just it'll be like 12 of us. We'll hop in and play Zone Wars together. But no, it's a fun time for sure. I know Padres was big Call of Duty, and then the Marlins were big Fortnite guys. So it's a lot of fun.
Who's the best gamer you've played with, and who's the worst at video games that you've played with?
The best gamer I've played with, actually one of my buddies, I played with him a couple times. He's with the Nationals, Mason Denenberg. He was a first rounder in 2018. He was nasty. He's played with scopes. Like he was nasty. The worst gamer I've played with, I don't know. Worse. We're all kind of like nasty. I don't know if I can go with the worst one. I don't know. I ain't got a worse one, to be honest with you. I don't think I have one.
Guys got a good squad. That's always just me whenever my friends and I play. It's just like you're gonna have to revive me. That's just I'll be in the storm back here. You guys can just go ahead.
Go ahead and push forward.
Yeah, you guys, I'll be fine. I wanted to shift gears though, because I definitely want to talk about your dad. David Weathers pitched 19 years in the bigs. He was on a lot of teams and he pitched for so long that you were I think you were around some of these clubhouses growing up. Like, what was it like being exposed to the game, being around the game, and just like learning it at such a young age?
Yeah, I think it's kind of shaped and molded me into, how I am today for sure. I would say I mostly remember when he was with the Reds. I was like, he was with them from 2005 to 2009. So that was kind of when I was like, I really want to play baseball one day. But yeah, I mean, when he was with the Reds, like, now that I realize it, but at the time I was just, 7 years old, but, I'm sitting in a locker next to Ken Griffey Jr., got Adam Dunn, Homer Bailey who threw 2 no-hitters, and Jay Bruce and Joey Votto. I mean, it was just, the list goes on. And like now I'm like, holy cow, like I was a little kid running around and all those guys were in the same locker room. But yeah, for sure. That was when I really fell in love with baseball. And yeah, I missed those times when I was going to the field and like it wasn't my job and like I could literally do whatever. But no, it was so much fun.
Oh my God. Spending your summers in Cincinnati, just like hanging out with Votto and Griffey and Adam Dunn. Like at the time you're just a little kid, but like looking back on it now, you're just like, that had to be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I still have, I think to this day, back in my house in Alabama, I still have the picture. I'm like, I think I was 8 and I'm in between Barry Bonds and Ken Griffey Jr. And I have it all everywhere I go. I always have that. But now that, I'm older and realize like who I was actually getting to meet, like they're literally legends. And it was just, looking back on it, it's a lot of fun.
Have you faced the Reds and Votto since then?
I faced Votto in 2021. It was pretty cool. He gave me a little hat tip, gave me a little helmet tip, and it was pretty cool.
Dang, I was going to say, do you think he recognized you from being the 9-year-old kid just running around Great American?
I remembered I think I had literally got recalled like the day I pitched, and then the next day I got to say hey to him, and he's an awesome guy, and he gave me a little helmet tap, and I was like, holy cow, I'm facing Joey Votto.
That's the best. I was reading an Athletic article, Adam Dunn, because he was saying that he used to watch you like take swings at Great American in like the outfield and just crush homers. He said that he wanted to model his swing after you. He said he would go in the cage and he said, I used to watch 9-year-old Ryan Weathers crush homers. And I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go try to do that in the batting cage. Has you like talked to you about that kind of stuff? Were you aware that he was chucking such high praise on you back then?
No, I'm not, really much on social media and stuff, but I remembered somebody saying that and I just thought it was hilarious because I would literally always hit from second base. When I got to about I was 9, I was at like second base trying to hit homers, couldn't do it. So I would always bring the bag up probably, an extra 50 feet, and so I could just launch homers into the little I don't even know what you call it in center field in Cincinnati, and I would just try to wear out those windows in center field. But no, it was fun.
Gosh, that's such a fun time to grow up. Of all the lessons, because I have to imagine growing up as the son of a big leaguer, of all the lessons your dad taught you, is there one that stands out, or maybe a couple that maybe you've carried with you to this day?
I would say there's one that he's always talked to me about, but he would always tell me like you won't find out until you're in it. And he would always talk about failure and the ability to like kind of pick yourself back up. Like, and I was, it was always like corny, like whatever. And then when I had my first taste for about a year and a half, 2 years of not really pitching how I wanted to, but still having the intangibles of the stuff, just when am I going to finally put it together and actually succeed? But going through that like 2-year spurt of just kind of having some growing pains and having him be able to talk to him and somebody had been through it, I'm hoping this year it kind of propels me into, kind of a breakout year, whatever you want to call it. But just the going through that mentally has helped me tremendously, going to this year. I've already faced some really good lineups and like having the confidence and I know I can do this and just having positive thoughts after going through that kind of valley. And I would definitely say failure is probably the biggest thing that like he'd always talk to me about, but I truly didn't experience it until I went through it.
I feel like, yeah, you're right. Having him as just like a sounding board for all of the stuff that you're going through as somebody who went through it himself, that has to be the best. The other thing I wanted to ask about is like, I was watching a bunch of like old video and everybody, all the scouts in Baseball America were like, Ryan Weathers, repeatable delivery, awesome delivery. Was that something that just like came naturally to you, or like did you and your dad kind of like hone that in, or did you even maybe model your delivery after his a little bit?
I remember since I've been able to actually pitch, it was mechanics. So he's a little bit different. He's a sinker slider, like sinker baller. So he kind of, but I'm like kind of 3/4. But I'm a lefty that throws a carry 4-seamer with a sweep your breaking ball and a changeup. But delivery wise, I mean, even still to this day, when I'm in the off season, it's mechanics. It's always drills that, you got to do them. I know you hate to do them, but we got to do them.
Yeah, no, especially, yeah, you've had this much success, like being able to repeat it consistently. You did mention sweeper. That's a long running topic of conversation on this podcast. Is a sweeper a different pitch, or is it just a slider?
I mean, it just varies. I mean, I look as a slide. I mean, it's just I think it's just a slider that just has more horizontal break. You can call it some guys throw a slurve. I think all in all, it's really just a slurve, to be honest with you. If analytics wise, I get into analytics, what I think's what and what's the other. But yeah, I think something that has more depth that's sweeping that way, it's more slurve. And then if it's just has more horizontal, it's still going like a slider. It's just a bigger slider.
Yeah, no, I think I'm definitely in the camp of we should stop adding different names to stuff. One, because it's more confusing, and two, because I feel like people like in the media are trying to like make themselves sound like they know more than they actually do. They're like, oh, that's a sweeper. I had a question because you mentioned analytics, and I'm wondering how much of your decision making and like how much of the way you pitch is influenced by the analytics. Do you check like the numbers and just basically how nerdy do you get when it comes to your own pitching?
I would say through the years, San Diego was really good about. They really helped us understand analytics. Here's what you're looking for in your bullpens, and then I think as the years go on, I really started understanding them when we had Rapsodo, and now it's like Rapsodo is kind of some people still use it, but TrackMan is the big thing, and we started trying to understand numbers. That would have been 2019 in A-ball. And then it was like 2020 and then like 2021, the analytics department over there really took off, and we started getting numbers and truly understanding them. There now, as you know, now I'm 24, and when I was 21, I was looking at numbers that now I don't even look at. But I think the more you use them, the more it dumbs down what you're looking for. And when that number is at a certain spot, you're in a good spot.
What numbers don't you look at anymore?
Like I always looked at induced vertical. What carry am I getting on my, four seamer? What is my, this number for my changeup? And now I'm just looking at tilt. Whatever my hand is on the clock. If my tilt is at 11 o'clock, I'm going to throw my best carry four seamers. If my tilt is at 9 o'clock, I'm going to throw my best changeups. And then if I'm at 3:30, I'm going to throw my best sliders. And I think like the more you look at it, and then like the more I was like, holy cow, that's what I need to figure out. And then, but decision making wise, I think once you get inside the lines, there is no. I don't care what my carry is. I don't care what my changeup's doing. Whatever I have today, I'm going to get you out, and I'm going to try to put my team in the best position to win.
I like your fastball a lot, though. I feel like I was reading that like it has a lot of spin and like upward. Is it upward movement that you're able to throw it up in the zone and past hitters? Like that has to be cool to like use the analytics to back up what you already know about your fastball. Like I like when it does this, and then you look at the numbers, you're like, oh, that's why.
For sure. I could get into a real in-depth, just why certain things do what, but we would be sitting here for hours. But so, yeah, it's just, I have a funkier arm slot and my hand comes through weird, and it's called vertical approach angle. And it makes, that's what makes like, Joe Ryan has one of the lower release points, and he like literally when he comes to the zone, he's pushing the ball through the top of the zone. That's why when he throws his fastball at the top of the zone, it's unhittable, is because to the hitter it looks like it's literally rising. So yeah, so it's fun. It's fun, throwing fastballs, and I enjoy throwing fastballs. So
who active pitchers going right now? Are there a couple guys you're like, you mentioned Joe Ryan. Are there a couple other of your favorites that just really like throw a great rising fastball or just put a lot of spin on it?
I mean, the best fastball in the big league, two best fastballs in the big leagues are, I think, Logan Gilbert and Spencer Strider. I mean, Strider's fastball, it's in a league of its own, but Logan Gilbert, I saw him throw. He pitched against us at San Diego, and he has a lot of extension. And his 97 looked like it was 103. It just exploded out of his hand. And I mean, Strider, he's already 100, and it looks like it's 100 on the corner, up and away, up and in. I mean, he just puts it wherever he wants to.
I like that.
And then when DeGrom's healthy, DeGrom is next level.
Yeah. We had his old pitching coach Dave Island on last week, and he was talking about that. It was so cool. I wanted to go back because you made your major league debut in the postseason. Did you know that Shane McClanahan had already broken that record a day before you had done it?
I knew he had debuted, but I had no clue that the list was that short on players that had debuted in the postseason.
I know your summer camp, your alt site that year I was reading was incredible. Did you have any idea that you would even like be a consideration for the NLDS roster?
I knew I threw the ball well, but just like anybody else, I was like, yeah, I threw the ball well, but I was 20, and I had no idea that that was even a possibility. I knew we had some injuries, and anytime injuries suck, but somebody always has to step up and fill a spot. And I knew we had some injuries, and it was like that list was kind of getting smaller and smaller, and I'm like, holy cow, this could like actually happen. But yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday, and it was an absolute blast.
Do you remember more of like the lead up, like getting the call, or do you remember like the actual outing itself? Because I feel like I've heard that you had said that the outing itself, it was like, I don't know, it kind of went by pretty fast. Yeah,
I definitely remember the lead up. And then kind of after I'd got told I was on the roster, like the rest of that whole entire day was just a blur.
Do you ever just go back and watch? Because like you did some cool shit. Like the first pitch, you blew it by Seager. You struck out your buddy Cody Bellinger. Like that's a very cool memory to have as like your first MLB outing.
Yeah, I haven't really went back and watched it. obviously, like I would have people send me the Bellinger punch out. But no, every time I think about it, I'm just like, I just remember like the first time I stepped on the field in the big league atmosphere and like, I'm in the freaking big leagues. That's all. I just remember I remember walking out and then I am in the big leagues.
Was it weird though with no fans?
Honestly, my mind was going a million miles an hour. It felt like fans were in there. It was wild. And, but no, I mean, I think like now that I've pitched in the big leagues, if I didn't have fans, like I think for sure it would be weird. But at that time when I was debuting it, my mind was going a million miles an hour.
So you had pitched all of 19 was it Fort Wayne, which is like A-ball, I think. And then to make the jump from Fort Wayne to the big leagues where you're facing Seager and Bellinger and those guys, like what was the biggest difference or differences between single A hitters and the Dodgers lineup?
I mean, number one, I mean, it's what makes big leaguers is big leaguers do not miss mistakes, and it's unbelievable, but they just do not miss mistakes. I think the most impressive part about the biggest difference was the control they had of the strike zone, like where they knew the zone was. In A-ball, you could get guys to chase, 1-0, they're just swinging. They're not searching for a pitch. And those big leaguers, when they're waiting for a pitch, when they finally get it, they don't miss it. When you're 2-0, they keyhole one spot. And if you throw it to that spot, it's getting crushed. So I would say the biggest difference is how they can control the zone.
You don't see a lot of pitchers make that jump. Like I know, like there's a guy from the Angels who got drafted and debuted that same year. Like, is it just harder for the reasons you mentioned to make the jump from whether it be college or I guess like high school or low A ball? Like, I don't know. I just feel like the difference of making your debut the same year you were drafted and not having that minor league experience. Like, I feel like as a pitcher, it's way harder.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference from from college, high school, college, and then A-ball, rookie ball, and all the way up is the strike zone for a pitcher. That's by far the biggest difference. And I think the more you pitch in the big leagues, then it's like more how you work the counts, like how 0-0 is a huge pitch, like the splits between 1-0 and 0-1 in the big leagues is a drastic difference. And then, do you win your 1-1s? Are you getting to 1-2 or are you going to 2-1? It's just those like little one pitch, how they can switch the count. I think now it's like that's the biggest difference is how you can control the count. And but yeah, I think for sure the strike zone is the biggest difference.
To make your debut on a Padres team that was just loaded with superstars, like I think you talked about Manny and Tatis, and we're an Eric Hosmer podcast, but like, how crazy was it just to like be in a locker room surrounded by all these superstars? Do you get starstruck at all?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's just like guys that you literally played, 2 weeks ago, you played with them on a video game, and then now you're sitting, in the same locker room as them. It is surreal, man. And I was blessed to be on just a team full of, veteran superstars. I still love watching them, and some of those guys, especially pitchers, like stuff that they taught me, I still do. Just that veteran presence that they have, but like also they're like the veteran presence, and I'm an all-star every year. It's just like it's impressive to watch them day in, day out.
Was there somebody on the Padres that like was maybe a veteran that like, I don't want to say took you under his wing because that's very cliche, but like, was there one guy that like went out of his way to help you out a little bit on some stuff?
I mean, from a pitching staff standpoint, I talked to Blake Snell the most. But Blake was really good about, helping me with my mentals. And, when I was going through my rough patch, like, this is what you have to do to get out of your because I think a lot of it is just mental when you're, in the big leagues. But Darvish helped me with my breaking ball. Musgrove helped me with my breaking ball, and all that whole pitching staff helped me tremendously. And some of that stuff, I still work on every time I'm playing catch.
Did Java Joe Musgrove make you some of his famous coffee?
I've had some of Joe's coffee, and it's solid.
I think Brian said he had a separate locker just for his like coffee maker. Is that right?
Yep.
That's awesome. I love Joe Musgrove. We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from the official sponsor of Not For Long Media and the Breaking Bats podcast, the original Fudge Kitchen. It is a staple of the Jersey Shore with 6 locations in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. The original Fudge Kitchen makes all of their fudge in-store guaranteeing a delicious product, so stop by and let them know that Not For Long Media and Breaking Bats sent you. Check them out online at fudgekitchens.com as they are shipping fudge and sweet treats all across the country. Now back to the episode. I wanted to bring Ricky in because he's going to wrap us up. A couple last questions. Ryan, this has been awesome, by the way. So like I said, thank you again. Ricky, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to get over Joe Musgrove having his own locker for a coffee maker. That's kind of crazy.
When you're Joe Musgrove, yeah.
Yeah, when you get a $100 million contract, I guess there's some perks that come with it. So I know we were just talking about your debut and how it was kind of different, I guess, with being one in the postseason, which is super cool, but no fans in the stands. But I was kind of wondering how that made your first start with fans in the stands feel. If that was kind of a pseudo debut 2.0.
Yeah. My regular season debut, I pitched against the Diamondbacks, and Joe had just went 6 shutout, and I was still built up as a starter. So I finished the game and went 3, and my first regular season got my first career save by going 3. When those fans are in the stands, man, it's just it just gives you a different adrenaline pump. And, you can't replicate the adrenaline pump you get when fans are in the stands.
Yeah, I guess the crowd noise pumping in doesn't really do it justice.
No, it sure doesn't.
Yeah. Okay, well then to switch gears a little bit, when we were looking back and kind of at your 2023 season, there was one thing that really popped out to me, and it was that you were one of the unluckiest pitchers in baseball and this is a little analytical, so bear with me here, but the difference between your expected slugging and your actual slugging against, obviously, and same with batting average against and expected batting average against being the biggest in all of baseball. So I was kind of wondering how you use that to look at when you're self-assessing back your 2023 season.
It's just like you look at it and I've give up, the homers, obviously you want to trim down the homers. That really bump. I mean, if you have a small sample size and you give up a couple homers, that slug goes way up. I think when you just look back at it, it's like you just have to reaffirm to yourself, I am making good pitches. It's just it's just not working right now. Balls are finding the 5-6 hole, balls are finding the 3-4 hole. They're hitting pop-ups, the Bermuda triangles out there. It's just then going back and actually realizing I am making good pitches. At some point, it's going to turn, and you just have to keep pushing on.
Yeah, gotta keep. Yeah, absolutely. So then also you've had a pretty good strong start to the spring. I was kind of wondering what you brought from your offseason training over. I know there was a big velo bump so far. So maybe what kind of caused that?
So I bought a TrackMan this offseason, and I feel like when you're in the offseason, that's truly the only time you can actually work on things to get if you want to change pitch grips, if you want to work on getting more carry, if you want to work on a 2-seamer. I feel like that's the only time you can work on it. So got on it and kind of did a little minor, tweak in the delivery, kind of added a little hop in my delivery. And I think my mechanics are honestly as just sound as they've ever been. I think right now for me, less is more and more is less. And anytime I try to get on a fastball, it's one of my slower ones. And anytime I just try to, throw a strike, it's one of my harder ones. So yeah, just excited to keep going.
I mean, that's a pretty good problem to have, throwing harder strikes. But so then also, what do you kind of look for early in spring to get out of these the first couple starts compared to towards the end when you're getting more closer and ready to go for the season?
I'd say for me, it's a little different. A lot of veterans that have been doing it, especially when they have, the kind of the equity in what they've already done for 6-7 years. They can go into spring and kind of break in and, get what they're working. But as a guy trying to make a squad, outing 1, I'm ready to rock. I have to be ready to rock and roll. So yeah, just as the spring goes on, now that I've kind of, faced a couple good lineups and, how can we just continue to, win the 0-0s, win the 1-1s, and just continue to pound the strike zone.
Got it. Yeah, sounds good. And then my last question would be, did you kind of have any sort of welcome to the MLB moment where things kind of clicked for you and you were like, damn, I'm really here doing this?
I think the very first time I pitched at Dodger Stadium, I was like, this place is sick. Like, I'm facing the Dodgers, like, A lineup. I'm facing Seager, Bellinger, Muncy. This was Mookie, Will Smith. It's like the whole lineup was just all-star after all-star. And, like, that was when I was like, yeah, this is like I'm in the big leagues. Like, this is sick.
Yeah, I'm sure staring down that lineup would kind of click everything into gears.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. So that spring start, I saw you struck out 5 Yankees against the regular lineup. Have you always been so he mentioned the increased velo, like 99. Do you normally sit 99, or is that just like, is this year feeling different for you?
It was like, I don't know what it was. It was like halfway through the year last year. I had always been, 93, 94, I was touching 6s, would hit a 7 every once in a while. And then it was like halfway through the year last year, I just started sitting, 96 and a half. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure out how to pitch with 96. And then, against the Yankees, like, I think my average fastball was like 96 and a half. And then, last outing, it was the same thing. So I think now it's like, now that I'm kind of used to, I guess throwing harder, it's just like now I feel used to actually getting in the strike zone earlier and not just trying to, because it don't matter. Those guys, velocity does not matter to them at all. So I think now it's like, how can we get in the zone quick to actually use the 98, 99 up in the zone late, down in the zone. Just figuring out how to use it now.
Do you think also it's a little bit of like you're getting older? Like, you're still incredibly young. Like, you're just 24. Like, even though you've been in the big leagues since 2020, like, is there a part of that too where it's like you feel like you're coming into your own a little bit more as you get a couple more years on you?
For sure. I think every year it's like been kind of one slower process. To me, it feels like it's taken forever. But just trying to figure out how do I pitch? How am I supposed to pitch? Like, it doesn't matter, now with the Marlins, it doesn't matter what Yuri does. It doesn't matter what Luzardo does. Like, we're all different pitchers. It's like, I have to figure out how I work in the zone best, how I operate best, and whatever stuff I have that day, I have to, have a game plan right as soon as the first innings hits and just go accomplish the game plan.
I love it. Dude, this has been incredible. My last question, and you might have touched on it before, is I always like to end with, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received? It could be baseball. It could be life. It could be a quote that's kind of stuck with you that you've heard. What kind of stands out for you?
I think the one thing that my dad had always told me is, and it's so true, is that everybody loves you when you're doing good. When you're doing bad, you're the only person that can believe in yourself and get out of it. And I've been at that valley for a year and a half of the only person that believed in me when I got on the mound was myself. And I think like having that self-belief every time you go out there, like belief can take you a long way.
I love that. Dude, this has been incredible. We're going to be watching some Marlins baseball this year. We'll be rooting for you. It's the Ryan Weathers podcast now. You're the man. So continued success, and hope to talk to you soon.
For sure. Thank y'all for having me.